Blood is still one of the cruelest games I have ever played. The first 2 episodes really tested my ability to stick through a very difficult game, and it really gave me an experience like no other. And because of that, I wanted to continue on with the game in its 3rd episode, A Farewell to Arms. But for those of you who don't know what Blood is, let me give you a quick rundown. Blood was released by the studio Monolith Productions in 1997. It consists of 4 different episodes, much like many other FPS games from the 90s, and is notorious for being extremely difficult. But yeah, that's all you really need to know in terms of the basics, so let's get into the fun stuff.
I'm gonna paint the town red.
So, I did say let's get into the fun stuff, but I kinda lied. Okay, so the reason I kind of lied is mostly because episode 3 has the most boring levels out of all the episodes so far. This doesn't mean they're bad. Far from it, I think Blood has some very good levels. And it does start off really strong, with the game giving us one of the best lines I've heard in it so far.
I'm gonna paint the town red.
It has us exploring this large French town area. Yes, it is French, I looked it up. But yeah, moving past our French little battle, we end up in more factory-like areas the more the game goes on. Of course, it's not just factories, there's a lot of other stuff in it too. However, it did kind of get stale and a lot of the levels kind of looked samey in my opinion. It's not like the levels are bad, they just aren't as good compared to the levels in the previous episodes. They just have a lot less life to them and they feel less inspired. But the levels are the least of the game's issues, because there's one really big issue that I'd like to talk about later. Wait, that makes it sound really bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. I promise. So, all of the enemies that have been previously introduced in Blood make their return. Yes. Even him. And yes, I still hate him. With what's new, I genuinely cannot remember if the choking hand was in episode 2 or not. So if someone could let me know, I'd much appreciate that. And he shows up quite often in episode 3, like a lot, which is why I was confused. Now, the one that I definitely know is new to this episode is the Hellhound, who, get this, is a dog who breathes fire. Who would have thought? Now, prior to me playing this episode, I'd heard that this enemy was quite difficult to fight, but I feel like I was lied to. In my opinion, he's really, well, not in my opinion, from my experience, he is really easy to kill, and it's made even easier with the introduction of a certain new thing I'm not going to mention right now, because I'm going to mention it later. On Still Kicking, he has 180 hit points. On Pink on the Inside, he has 244 hit points. Lightly Broiled, he has 366. Well Done, he has 482. And on Extra Crispy, he has a whole 602 hit points. But remember how I mentioned there was something that made it really easy to kill him? Well, allow me to explain that to you. So, like with the enemies, all of the weapons that have been previously introduced got introduced again, with there once again being only one new addition here, just like with the enemies. This magical new death machine is called the Tesla Cannon, and no, it doesn't have any connection to Elon Musk. However, I think if he wanted to, he probably would build these and sell them. But yeah, the Tesla Cannon fires electricity really fast, who would have thought? And when enemies get hit by it, they get the same effect as if you took a fork and stuck it into an electrical socket. Do not do that. Do not do that. But yeah, it also has a secondary fire, which was only really useful when Shial showed back up, and I quite literally cooked him with like one shot. In my opinion, one of the most effective and really fun to use weapons in the game, and the ammo for it is quite abundant. It melts through pretty much every enemy with relative ease and is really effective against cultists and hellhounds. But now let's get to something that left me feeling really empty on the inside when I finished the game.
Good doggy. Play dead.
Welcome to the easiest boss fight ever. You remember how in the last Blood video I complained about the boss fight being way too hard and way too confusing? Well, this is Cerberus, who is a two-headed, really big hellhound who fires rockets instead of fire. At the beginning of the fight, there's some hunting down of switches to try and get this big thing to open and release Cerberus. There's a pretty big build up to the fight, but it's very underwhelming when it actually gets there. I actually don't think he hit me. I spammed him with the napalm launcher like America did in Vietnam. But yeah, I probably could have stood still and killed this boss. If you're curious about Blood and would like to see more of Blood, i.e. the first 2 episodes and the 4th one eventually when I get around to making that, then you can click on the playlist appearing right here.